Hey folks, how you doing? My name is Tim Black. Welcome to the Tim Black Show. I got a special edition today. I'm feeling real relaxed because I'm amongst family. Two great speakers, two great powerhouses. I call them change agents in New York. We got Jamaal Bowman, as you know. He just won the 16th district, and I got a feeling he's going to be the congressman. That's what I think. Also have a protege, someone I had an opportunity to interview very recently. Not only is he a dynamic on the stump, I think he would have won if he would have been able to get out there if it wasn't for COVID-19 getting in the way. Ladies and gentlemen, Isiah James from the 9th District. Give it up for both these gentlemen. Mr. Bowman, how does it feel to win an election and to be headed to Congress almost definitely or certainly?
It feels incredible, man. It's humbling. I feel blessed. I feel fortunate to be a part of a movement, because it's not just me. There's a movement happening across the country. Isiah is part of that movement, and many others. So to come together, I met Isiah when we were both endorsed by Brand New Congress. I met him briefly down there in DC, and just the energy, man, the passion, working class folk, people who really love other people and love this country and love the world and want to do tremendous work. It just feels incredible. And to your point, November, God willing, we should be okay. And I'm just excited to get down there and get started, man. But, this is a Democratic district, so we've already got it started in many ways. So just looking forward to keep working.
Absolutely, absolutely. What about you, Isiah James? I know you were, you kind of got into this, kind of dared yourself. I know your story a little bit. You went to meet with Yvette Clarke and had some questions for her, and she didn't have the right answers, and you came home, talked to your wife, and said, you know what? I think I'm going to run. How are you feeling after making this switch to politics and really getting involved on this level?
I am buoyed by what I see on the ground every single day, because before I decided to run, I was still a housing activist. I was still an organizer, so I was doing this stuff. And the fact that it's ramping up now, it tells me that this wasn't just a blip on the radar. And like you said, I met with Yvette Clarke 3 years ago, and the answers just weren't right. And even though we didn't win this time, what it showed me, I told my wife this on election night, I didn't even think I was going to get 1,000 votes. Honestly, we spent $1.30 per vote and got over 10,000 votes, beat sitting city council members, all that. I was like, whoa. So it was really a movement. Like Brother Bowman said, this is a movement. We're not going to all get in there at the same time, obviously. The system is a leviathan. Every big battleship has little tiny leaks, but the battleship starts to sink once more and more water gets in. So we got the ALCs, we got the Jayapals, we got the Ilhans. Now we got the Brother Bowmans and the Sister Cori Bush coming. And this big, capitalistic battleship that is America, we're going to get in there eventually, but it's going to take all of us to fight one at a time. And nobody was ever born on the top of Mount Everest. You get there one step at a time. So Jamaal Bowman planted his flag, Cori Bush planted her flag. I'm somewhere in the halfway summit gearing up to get ready to run back up to the top again.
Man, I love that attitude, man. That's exactly, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know, right after we got the announcement of what happened in the 9th district there, Isiah James, I hit him up, he hit me up on Twitter, and he told me, man, he said, I ain't done.
Oh, no.
I want you to know, I'm not done. I'm back at it.
Listen, unless she does a 180 and changes and starts caring about the people and stop taking corporate money, then I'll be happy to live my life with my beautiful wife. If she's not going to do that, which I'm pretty sure she's not, then the problems we face aren't going anywhere.
Jamaal Bowman, you took out a 16-year incumbent. I think it was Elliot Engel. Has he reached out to you? Is he helping you with the transition? What's the love? Is there love there? What's going on?
So 16-term incumbent, so he was there 31 years, which is, incredible. He reached out to congratulate us, hasn't reached out again in terms of helping with the transition. Thankfully, to Isiah's point, the squad is already there, so they've been helpful in terms of mentorship. And there are others on the Hill, like Barbara Lee, Karen Bass, and others who are helping me with the transition, because it's a lot to wrap your head around. And there's also, organizers and activists in this space here in the district, as well as community leaders, and elected leaders here in the district who have, opened their doors, reached out and been mentors. So that process is going well.
Today, just to jump into a couple topics, today, now, just before we got together, I saw that de Blasio is announcing a furlough. I think it's between now and March. What is it, March? A furlough for everyone under him or something, including himself, because of the COVID-19 I guess the deficit because of the inadequacies of the financial prospects in New York. You guys got an opinion about that, about de Blasio announcement?
Well, since I live in the city and Jamaal is right outside, let me jump on that one first. My wife's an employee of the Department of Education. So the budget deficit is $9 billion. $6 billion is the NYPD's budget every single year. If we cut that big ass budget and tax some of these billionaires and millionaires, then maybe you wouldn't have to send hundreds of people home and not pay them and furlough them. Yes, there are some people who make exorbitant salaries, but when people heard the 500 number of furloughed workers, they're like, why does the mayor have 500 workers? There's a lot of offices that work for the office of the mayor. And these are working class people with families at home who aren't going to get a paycheck that week because we have a budget deficit and nobody is looking at the main problem. We have more billionaires than anywhere else in the world and they're getting off scot-free. We have a bloated police budget, they're getting off scot-free. We need to get our house in order first before we start hurting poor people. We're doing that at the city level. They're doing it at the state level. They've been doing it at the federal level for 50 years.
Yeah, and to Isaiah's point, if we don't reallocate resources in terms of defunding the police and placing those resources in other spaces, we're going to continue to struggle economically, and we're going to continue to have hiring freezes and furloughs and things of that nature. So that's number one. The city's budget for the NYPD is way too large, especially when you consider the majority of their responses are administrative as opposed to really responding to violent crime. So reallocating resources there is important. In addition to the governor taxing the rich and the wealthy of the state. We have the largest number of billionaires in the country, in the world, I believe, and the governor refuses to tax them just a little bit more to cover our expenses. And then lastly, at the federal level, we passed the HEROES Act 3 months ago. The House, Democrats in the House got the HEROES Act passed. The Senate hasn't moved on this bill at all, and they're not going to move on it as long as Mitch McConnell is in place. That's why beating Trump is not enough. We also have to flip the Senate, and the Democrats need to take control of the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives in order for us to push bold legislation. And that's not even going to be enough because too many Democrats are corporate Democrats. So it's still going to be a fight there. But I'd rather fight with a corporate Democrat than a fascist bigot like Donald Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bowman is a member of the Democratic Socialists.
DSA, yes. Yeah. Democratic Socialists of America, yes.
Right. And as we talk about, the situation in New York, what's the temperature in New York? What are your thoughts as far as moving forward? I know this morning, man, I woke up to a video of a group of Trump supporters in the Target staging a sit-in or a mask off, like actually filming it and yelling, "Take your mask off," like it was a pep rally.
Fucking idiot.
We're not doing it. Take off your mask. Take it off. Take it off. We're not stopping it. Yeah, we got someone. Take it off your mask. Take it off.
Was Future with them? Was Future providing a soundtrack?
Not Cardi B. She would be on our side.
You gotta do that. Maybe Future.
My dad's an old school Jamaican dude, and he told me something when I was a little tiny boy. If you don't hear it, you're gonna feel it. There's 190,000 people out there right now who died in this country alone. And there's a lot of them, sadly, who thought this was a hoax or was a game or was a joke or something like that. I remember not too long ago when we passed 1 million cases in the world, and we thought that was an exorbitant number. I just looked at the news today. We passed 25 million cases. And we have 6 million and climbing in the United States of America. The government's response to this has been abysmal, to say the least. But we also, our public's response in some sectors has been beyond, abysmal. Is why do you think that all these healthcare workers and these people are pleading for you? My wife is one of those people with a compromised immune system. You know what I mean? So when you're wearing a mask, you're helping me and my family, and I'm doing the same for you and yours. I live in a community that was one of the hardest hit in New York City, right here in central Brooklyn, in the middle of Flatbush, East Flatbush, some of the poor neighborhoods and poor areas. We heard the sirens in April and May every single day, every night. We saw the refrigerator trucks. There's literally a hospital around the block from my apartment. The refrigerator trucks were parked right out there. It was a damn nightmare scene in New York City, and people were really, really scared. So for folks to think this is a joke or this is a game or somehow, Republicans love money. Why the hell would they want to shut down the country? They would never do that unless this was real. I mean, they don't make any sense against their own argument. So I'm baffled at what they're doing. I thank all the healthcare workers and first responders for what they're doing, because I've been to war 3 times, and I promise you, I do not have the heart to go in the hospital full of COVID patients. Yeah.
It's funny, Republicans might love black and brown genocide more than they love money, which is why they're allowing this to move in the way it moves. We're doing better in New York at this moment than many places in the country. I think we have daily cases at less than 1%. And it feels good. I don't know about you, Isaiah, but like I've been out a little more, obviously safely with mask on, being out a bit more. That feels good, and it's good for our mental health. But we still, we're sending 1.1 million kids back to school in some capacity. Actually, not all of them, maybe 300,000 of them. I think a third or maybe 40% of them are going back. So that's gonna really show us, how far out of the woods we are in terms of this pandemic. And many of the schools aren't retrofit to receive kids. So you talk about lack of air quality, lack of air circulation, lack of PPE. We don't have the consistent testing on a day-to-day basis. How the hell, in the NFL, in the NBA, if you're a professional actor, you're tested every day you go to work. But teachers aren't, and our kids aren't, and our families who bring their kids aren't. So that's still a problem, and I'm praying, and I'm keeping my kids home. I have 2 kids. Both of them are staying home. I'm not sending them back to school. They're going to do fully remote learning. I pray the kids that go back, that when the kids go back, the numbers remain low. So there's a lot of anxiety and worry in education specifically because kids are going back on Monday.
Yeah, in my town here, we are by choice, kids get to stay home, and we've opted to do that with our children and do homeschooling. It's tough though. It is not easy, but safety first, and that's the direction that we're going.
Well, one quick point on that, Tim, if I could jump in. So the early data is showing that more African American and Latino communities are keeping their kids home than white communities. And that was a shock to people because, the argument initially was, well, black and brown kids need to be in school, the learning gap, they need lunch, etc. And I think I told the Washington Post yesterday, listen, black and brown families are not, we're worried, man. We don't feel the schools are safe. So we are keeping our kids home, bottom line, and that's that interesting data that, people probably wouldn't have predicted prior to us going back to school.
Yeah, I read a survey yesterday where they did some data analysis, and they determined that black children, shocker here, black children and Latino children are more susceptible and have more side effects, to COVID-19 than white counterparts. So I don't know exactly where that's coming from. Maybe.
Well, it's environmental factors, right? It's
lack of resources at hospitals. It's underfunded. It's all that stuff. It's poor diet and nutrition because we live in food deserts, and you can go get a slice of pizza and a soda for $1.50, $2, but you go to Whole Foods and you'll spend your whole paycheck trying to buy fresh groceries. You see what I'm saying? So
if you have a Whole
Food, yeah. If you don't got to take 2 buses and a train to get over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't have a Whole Foods in my neighborhood, not directly in my neighborhood, but if you go into Northern Virginia, I live right near D.C. where you're going to be, Mr. Bowman. Not too far from there. I'm kind of in shouting distance.
Okay.
Wow. So what do you guys think about President Trump's number 45's response to COVID-19? Has it been adequate? Do you think just his response alone will be enough for Joe Biden to eke out a win? What are your thoughts on that?
It hasn't been adequate at all. Come, I mean, there's no objective person.
It's a layup, Jay. It's a layup, Jay.
There's no objective person that would look at our president and our government's response to this pandemic and say it was adequate in any way. We just saw the Bob Woodward excerpt come out that Donald Trump knew this damn virus was even more dangerous, way more dangerous than the flu, and downplayed it. Now, I understand not causing a panic, but giving people the straight dope is you don't want to go to your doctor. You have cancer, and he tells you it's a hangnail because he doesn't want to worry you. No, you have to, in order to treat the problem, you have to diagnose and say what the problem is. So our government willingly lied to 333 million people to try to save face, number one. Number two, this is the United States of America. We put a man on the moon. We ended fascism. At the height of World War II, during the Defense Production Act, we were turning out a B-17 bomber every hour. You're telling me if we enacted the Defense Production Act, we couldn't ramp up the production of ventilators, which would have saved lives, PPE, which would have saved lives. We could have done so much more to save thousands and thousands and thousands of lives right now that did not need to die. But we have feckless leadership at the presidential level, and we have a House and Senate that rather go at each other and score political points for fundraising than do the right thing. The Democrats in the House right now, they voted not too long ago to reauthorize the National Defense Act. They gave away their biggest leverage bargaining chip right then and there. If they would have not voted on that, the Republicans would have given them every single thing they wanted for COVID-19 in terms of the HEROES Act, more PPE, more funding for states, everything. Because Republicans don't want to look weak on defense. And these same corporate Democrats who take money from the defense industry voted for it anyway. So you see, we're literally people like Jamaal and myself who are in that different vein, because I'm a DSA member as well. We're looking at it as like, wait a minute, we're fighting the same enemy. Just one has the D and one has the R. Not everybody on the D side is bad, but there are a lot of them who have been in positions of power for 20 years, and you can see we're spitting in the wind here.
Yeah, absolutely. The response has been abysmal from Donald Trump. And, you know, again, we have a white nationalist in the White House. So he doesn't care if Black and brown people die. His approach is genocidal. When you look at his interviews and you look at who he surrounds himself with, this is a eugenics playbook that he's working from. So if this pandemic comes to our shores and disproportionately impacts Black and brown people, he's going to be slow to the draw and look the other way, because he don't care if Black, brown, senior, and vulnerable people die, because he's taken a social Darwinism approach. It's survival of the fittest, right? So he is unfit. He has been unfit, and his response has been abysmal. To your point about, is that enough for him to lose the election? I don't know. You know, the one thing about Republicans in Trump's base, they are a vibrant, excited, energetic base. So they are going to move and mobilize in favor of Donald Trump. The problem with the Democrats, quite frankly, is we don't do a good enough job of exciting our base and growing our base. I mean, look at the DNC. They allowed AOC to speak for 60 seconds prime time. Yet they gave John Kerry a primetime spot. They gave Bill Clinton a primetime spot. They gave John Kasich a primetime spot. I mean, nobody want to hear from them. No disrespect.
They gave the sister who does the talk videos a prime spot.
Yo, no one wants to hear from them. People want to hear from AOC. They want to hear from Ayanna Presley. They want to hear from Cori Bush. And guess what? They want to hear from the Castro brothers. And when you do that, you grow the base. You bring in more people of color. You bring in younger people. And now those are the ones that have the energy and excitement for change. You keep trying to talk down the middle to independents and those who are undecided. Like it was way too polished, way too homogeneous. And we need to excite and grow our base at the level that the Republicans are with their base. So we cannot take nothing for granted, man. Like, this is not a done deal. And we got to get it. Listen, Biden is not my first choice, or maybe even second, or maybe even, third.
Right.
But he's better than Trump. And another 4 years of Trump can lead to a fascist state, even more so. And I'd rather push and work with Biden and hold him accountable than to have to deal with another 4 years of Donald Trump.
That's such a hard, like I tell people, just last night I had a show, I told folks, I'm not going to vote shame you for your choices. You got to make this decision that's best. You feel best for your children, for your neighbors, for your community. I know that Bernie Sanders, he recently tried to talk and give some words of advice to Joe Biden's campaign. He said, you need to focus on the issues, not focus just on beating Trump. How does that fit? How does that feel to you, James? Does that Isiah, does that make sense to you? Is that the same advice you would give Joe Biden?
Well, to piggyback on Jamal's point a little bit, so like he said, the Democrats are trying to talk down the middle to that undecided voter. There is no undecided voter in America today. I promise you that. You're either right, you're left, or you're just apathetic. You're like, I'm not doing it. Because the largest voting bloc is non-voters. It's 100 million voters. So they're not undecided. They're not wanting to vote. You know what I mean? So like Jamal said, getting more younger people involved in the party who've never voted before, that's the main thing. But to your point, speaking to the issues, absolutely. We've been given platitudes for 50, 60, 70 years by both parties. Parties that say they're going to be tough on this or they're going to fight this and fight that, but we have no tangibles. That's the thing that we never see, is we don't see tangibles. Everybody says, now everybody on the Democratic side is saying Black Lives Matter. Okay, that's a great slogan. I'm glad you're saying it. You took a knee in the Capitol Rotunda with some kente cloth on. What the hell are you going to do? Are you going to bring a reparations bill to the House floor and vote on it? Are you going to talk about, investing in communities of color that have been disproportionately affected by racism? Are you going to speak to those issues? Is Joe Biden going to get up there and say that we actually need to defund the police? Because if you're going to give me platitudes and say we need to work around things, then no, it's not going to get those 100 million people who are sitting on the sidelines. It's not going to get them into this fight. But when you speak to the issues that people care about, and people aren't marching in the street for their health. You can get sick marches. People are marching in the street because Jamal knows, I know, we're all three big Black dudes. So we automatically know all of us are educated, all of us are well-spoken. But that's not what America sees when they look at us. If I take this blazer off, if Jamal takes those glasses off, if you take that blazer off, we all look like the suspect as soon as we walk out of the front door. So we need people who are going to speak to these issues specifically and not just give me some workaround platitudes, because that's not going to be enough. Like Jamal said, Trump's base, the thing about Republicans, they vote lockstep. They vote for their candidate in lockstep. They are in there. So we know how we thought Hillary, she had a huge base, a huge operation, and she lost those key states. If we're not careful with this again, Trump will win those same key states and we'll have another 4 years of Donald Trump.
I mean, we have to, think about what Isiah just said. 100 million people sat on the sideline in the last presidential election.
That's bigger than some countries.
Yes, not 1 million, not 5 million, not 10 million, 100 million. That's a lot of votes, man. That's a lot of votes to be had. You get 10% of that, you good. But we haven't done the work to grow the base. We continue to believe that, they're apathetic, there's nothing we could do to bring them in. Well, guess what? In our race here in the 16th district, we tripled voter turnout, tripled from 2018. We tripled turnout amongst young people. We tripled turnout amongst people of color. Why? Because we launched on June 18, 2019, and 1 week later, we were knocking on doors in the projects. And guess what? We knocked on doors in the projects for an entire year, multiple times, to show the people, to connect with the people. Listen, we need you to be a part of this. We need your voice. We need your story. We need your understanding. This is not about me just going to Washington. This is about all of us. When people feel included in the process, they are more likely to be supportive. That's the bottom line. And the people in the projects got brilliant ideas just like people everywhere else. But the DNC hasn't figured out how to do that yet because, again, they continue to follow a status quo and not understand why they continue to lose primaries in areas where they thought they had a stronghold. You got to tap into that 100 million. If we do that authentically, and not based on transactional politics, authentically, based on deep relationships and love and care for the people who are most vulnerable, then the Democratic Party will be strong as ever. But right now, that's not getting done. And that's part of my job, I believe, to help the party do that, help the country do it overall.
Well, you know, just today I saw an imagery of Kamala Harris stepping off a plane wearing her Timberlands. And that was trending. Oh, she's got on Timberlands. She's got on Timberlands. And then I saw Joe Biden.
Do they wear Timberlands out in L.A.?
I didn't know they did. I know they, you know, D.C. kind of follows New York in that way. So I know the birthplace of the Timberlands is New York. So I'm sure you guys.
She went to HBCU, man. She gotta be hip to Tim's at least.
That's true, Howard.
That's true. That's
maybe
true.
back in the day. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's true.
That's true. You saved it, Jay, because I was thinking. I
didn't think about it. She went to Howard, right?
Yeah, she was to Howard. Yeah. She know about Tim's, man.
She know about Tim's. They were the new style Tim's. They want the old people getting into that. But my thing is, people more concerned with making sure they can afford their insulin than they're concerned with your footwear. So,
exactly.
You know what? I got a lawyer coming on by the name of Christopher Brown. He's been had a lot of cases, settlement cases, civil cases for police victims of police violence. Every day, it's like I got a new story I got to cover. That's part of what I do. Breonna Taylor, the settlement yesterday, $12 million. Historical figure, largest amount ever paid to a black woman who has been slain by police. Your thoughts on that, Jamaal?
12 million ain't gonna bring Breonna Taylor back, you know, and that's my first reaction. You know, we're talking about no-knock warrants, right? And how often no-knock warrants are botched and lead to someone being killed. I'm forgetting the young girl's name in Chicago many years ago, 7 years old, sleeping on the couch, no-knock warrant, they bust in, boom, she dies. This happens consistently, right? So, in addition, the cop who killed Breonna Taylor still hasn't been held accountable, still hasn't been arrested, still hasn't been indicted. And again, it's like hush money, you know, it's like hush money without true justice. You know, that's not justice. Accountability is justice. Transformative federal reform is justice. The Movement for Black Lives has an amazing piece of legislation they want to introduce. It's called the Breathe Act. So it deals with issues of no-knock warrants. It deals with issues of qualified immunity, and it goes very far in dealing with complete criminal justice reform. And that's a bill we need to look at supporting in Congress during the next session, during the next cycle. But you know, we're looking for an arrest, we're looking for justice, we're looking for accountability, and we're looking for federal policy that so we don't have any more, you know, to quote my brother Jamani Williams, you know, no more hashtags, man. You know, no more hashtags is where we need to go with this.
Isiah, any thoughts on this?
I mean, first of all, think about this. The city paid $12 million, but they have to admit no fault. So that's how strong this racist system is. They'd rather pay you $12 million than admit fault to what happened. We know this is wrong. And these settlements get paid out all over the country. We don't hear about them because they don't make news. So millions of dollars are flying out all over the country, and they refuse to change this system. This system is not broken. It is working exactly the way it was designed. Those who do not know that the first police in this country were slave catchers. They were founded in order to bring people like you and me back to the plantation. We ran away to seek our freedom. And over the years, no matter 1800s, 1900s, to the 2000s, we see time and time again. The NWA made a song called F the Police. They didn't say F the Fire Department. They were sticking dogs and water hoses on people in the 50s and 60s. This is not new. It's just getting filmed more. I, at 33 years old, I can remember my father telling me when he came to this country how the police would treat him. And I thought, as a little boy growing up, my dad just don't like the cops. Something's not right. You know what I mean? But now seeing it as a grown man at 33, like, when are we going to finally say that this system is wrong? It does not serve Black people. And when I know Brother Bowman's the same way. When criminal justice reform is not just about the police. It's about our laws. It's about mandatory minimums. It's about these for-profit prisons. Because guess what? Slavery is illegal in the United States, but for punishment of crime. It says that in the Constitution, but for So now, if everything you do, if your Blackness is a crime, then you're all slaves in this system, whether you know it or not. Because you can walk out of your door as a Black person or a person of color in this country and reach for your cell phone and have your life ended. You can walk out of this person, out of your house as a Black person in this country and get assaulted by the police for doing nothing more than asking a civil servant, why are you doing this to me? This system is corrupt, man. And I'm telling you right now, us throwing money at these problems we're throwing good after bad. This system needs to be completely dismantled and reformed. I'm telling you right now, if there's no bus drivers out on the street, people don't ride the bus. That's all that happens. If there's no cops out on the street, people aren't just murdering and robbing each other. People going about their day. They're going about their business. We don't need more and more police officers in Black and brown communities. I don't know if you've ever been in New York City, Tim, but if you go, I live in Crown Heights and Flatbush, and East Flatbush. We literally have police towers on the corner. They sit up in there, and there's 20-foot towers where they watch you in your neighborhood. These are siege tactics. This is stuff they trained us in the military to use against our quote-unquote enemy. Man, this system is really, really bad. And for Breonna Taylor's family, I have 10 sisters, and I promise you, there's not one of them I would trade for any amount of money in this world. So that money is not going to bring that loved one back to this earth. It's going to help her family move forward. It's going to help her family heal, but they will never be whole. So I'm thankful that her family got the settlement. I'm thankful that her lawyers fought for it. But man, this system, and this Breonna Taylor is just one of many. She's a Tamir Rice. She's the Alton Sterling. She's a Orlando Castile. She's a Sandra Bland. I mean, come on, how many more names do we have to say until white folks in this country, the people who hold the majority of power, understand Black people aren't making this up. We're not crying wolf. This is real.
And I guarantee you, if you bring jobs into our communities, crime would go down. Like, bring jobs, like trade for every cop, bring a job. So like, get rid of a cop, bring in a job. I guarantee you, crime will go down. We need jobs.
Listen, I'm not going to rob you. If I'm making money, why would I rob you and risk my freedom if I got a job?
Job, housing, healthcare, dignity, education. Leave me alone. Let me do my thing. That's it. They never, mass migration from the South away from Southern racism and discrimination to the North looking for jobs. No jobs there. Of course, crime is going to increase. Crime increase. What do? We don't bring jobs. We bring in police, which begins mass incarceration. We need jobs. That's it. We need a federal jobs guarantee, federal minimum wage, affordable housing, food security, education. You bring those things in, you can dramatically decrease the police, which you can dramatically decrease right now anyway.
Yeah, there's been a lot of debate. I appreciate you bringing up the federal jobs guarantee. During the election, you guys recall, Andrew Yang, entrepreneur, talked a lot about UBI. It appears like now people are warming up to the idea where we're in a pandemic and the jobs are shut and people need some way to be able to put food on the table. Either one of you have any thoughts about federal jobs guarantee, UBI? I personally think, hey, whatever works for the people, I'm for both. I support both ideas depending on what's on the fine print. Mr. James, what do you feel about UBI?
I'm going to correct you real quick, Brother Tim. Andrew Yang started talking about, Dr. Martin Luther King was talking about a universal basic income.
Of course.
Long ago. So now I know you know, but let the folks out there know.
Oh, yeah.
It was Dr. King. And before that, Jesus, he took 2 fish and 5 loaves and fed a multitude. He never came up to somebody like, yo, I need to see you working before I give you some of this. Then he healed the lepers. He didn't say, your insurance didn't cover this. You know what I mean? So these socialist policies that everybody's afraid of, us as Black people, We come from a socialist collective, Africans. Think about it. The African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Think about the slave plantations. Many hands make light work. How do you think we got through 400 years of being treated as less than human? We had to lean on our brothers and sisters. If we didn't, we would not be here. And those of us who are here, we are the stock. We are the 7th, 8th, 9th generations of crimes committed. We are the strongest of that stock. We have lost our way because the government has not been set up for us. But these Black folks you see in this country are some strong-ass people, especially Black women. My mother raised 11 of us with my father. I don't know how she did it. So UBI, if we would have had a UBI, we wouldn't have been homeless. We wouldn't have been living in a Motel 6 parking lot. You know what I mean? Going through my 3rd or 4th grade year in school, eating cans of green beans on a hot plate. We wouldn't have had to do that. If we would have had some kind of universal basic income, maybe my brothers and sisters and me wouldn't have had to steal food from the school cafeteria just to eat because we didn't have dinner at home. If we had policies that actually cared about the damn people. Think about this, Tim. Our defense budget, and this is coming from a 3-time combat veteran, with all said and done, $790 billion. Do you understand what our Department of Education budget is? $68 billion. That's for the entire Department of Education. We're spending 13 times more on warfare than we are on the next generation. How are we ever supposed to get ahead as a country and as a people if our resources are being squandered out the barrel of a gun? And Dwight Eisenhower warned us in the 50s about this, the rise of the military-industrial complex. Martin Luther King warned us about the military-industrial complex. And for some reason, I cannot, for the life of me, figure out why is it so hard to say that a poor child in my neighborhood or any neighborhood around this country deserves more than a damn defense contractor? I just don't understand.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly right. Like UBI is part of the reparations conversation, right? It's one step of many steps that need to be implemented, right? It needs to be implemented immediately. But in addition to that, baby bonds needs to be implemented as well. Free housing and land, free college, universal health care, money in the pocket. All of this needs to be a part of a reparations conversation and a true investment in those who live in poverty and those who have been historically marginalized. There have been other communities that have received reparations, and rightly so. African Americans have not. And that's something that needs to be rectified, and UBI is a part of that. Baby bonds is a part of it, and truly investing in all of us who have been disenfranchised, canceling student debt, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, man, a lot of work to be done on the economic front for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely encouraged with you bringing up that subject matter. That's not a typical conversation for somebody entering Congress, Mr. Bowman.
Jamaal Bowman it is. I know him. For him it is.
I'm like looking for Yvette Clarke and Antonio Moore from ADOS. Like, wait till they see this video. So
listen, man. Listen. Tupac said, the one thing Black people have in common is poverty, right? So everywhere you go in this country, whenever you go to a poor community, it's disproportionately Black and brown. That's by design. So, my brother Isiah is in Brooklyn. I grew up in Manhattan, right? So as a kid, I would just walk around Manhattan. And Manhattan is like the most glorious metropolis you can ever be around. Like, it's just skyscrapers and museums and Central Park and all this stuff. And you just look around and wonder. And I'm like, why they ain't got this in Black communities? Why Black folk don't have active? Why we don't got this?
Until you get past 110th Street, you're like, wait a minute.
Correct, right? Right. Not even 110th, 96th Street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once you pass 96, it's a different Manhattan. But 96 and down, particularly Park Avenue, 96 and down, it's incredible, the real estate that's there. So, and it's clear, the distinction is clear, even in this district. So we have both the highest number of WIC recipients and the second most affluent community in the country. We have Scarsdale and the Northeast Bronx, which has 4 housing projects. So that economic inequality is what our country is known for. So in terms of reparations, man, and economic investment and truly investing in the formerly enslaved, come on, man. Like that's That's common sense if we really love and care about Black folk. But we don't, which is why we haven't, and that's what we're fighting to change.
What does reparations look like for you, Isiah James? Are there policies that you envision?
Listen, they did the math on this, right? So everybody, white folks are like, oh, we can't give all these Black people a check. Listen, they literally did the math. If America were to write a Black person, every Black person, a check for reparations, it would be literally over $70 trillion. So that's not there. Reparations, to me, looks like a systematic investment by this government into communities that have been disproportionately disadvantaged by systematic racism. That is literally funding for HBCUs, because those are the engines and the hubs that give us these Black entrepreneurs, these Black millionaires and billionaires. That means more small business loans for people like Black women who are disproportionately disaffected, who don't get those loans. That means housing, good, sustainable housing right now. In my district in central Brooklyn, we got the Albany houses, we got the Tilden houses, we got some of the biggest NYCHA buildings in New York City, disproportionately poor, run down. Reparations to me means ending this damn crazy war on drugs, which has been a part of destroying the nuclear Black family. This means getting rid of mandatory minimums. This means legalizing marijuana so we can get these people who are sitting in there for not a violent crime, for smoking weed, out of jail and putting them back in the community, letting them vote and be full citizens. Reparations to me means America has to have some damn skin in the game. We don't need any more studies about reparations. You know what a study is? I can walk down Flatbush Avenue. That's the damn study for reparations. I don't need you to do a scientific study. I can see it with my own eyes. The fact that I'm 6 times more likely to be arrested and 3 times more likely to be shot by a cop, I can see what racism did in this country. The fact that I am more likely to not, I can get a damn $200,000 school loan, but I can't get a $200,000 business loan. I don't need a study to see that. I can see that in my own life. So to me, man, reparations is a comprehensive package. It is not just writing Black people a check, because it's just like in the Breonna Taylor situation. They give her family a check, they admit no fault, they change nothing. So if America just gave Black people money and admit no fault and change nothing, we have 400 years of history to show us how America has treated the Black person. We got another couple 100 years before that, how they treated the brown person, the Indians, the natives who are here. Everywhere across the world, America has sown her seeds of disaster. It's time for us to really look at ourselves, have a very deep look and say, you know what, we're never going to move forward as a country unless we get our house in order, because every great empire, the Romans, the Greeks, the Assyrians, the Athenians, the Turks, they've all fallen. They've all slipped beneath the waves. And America is a great empire, and we are no different. We are people, our heartbeats, we rise and fall. So if we don't get this in order, then this country's in trouble.
Do you think the Democratic Party is a vessel that will help bring this to the
current Democratic Party as it is? No. With people like Jamaal Bowman and Cori Bush and AOC, yes, hell yes, that party will. Listen, the current way as it's seen, Nancy Pelosi's worth $100 million. She put on some damn kente cloth and take a knee. What is that? What are you doing? You're the Speaker of the House. Put some weight behind this. You are literally the third in the line should Trump and Mike Pence drop dead. It's you. You're third in line. You got Chuck Schumer. Do something. I don't care about platitudes. We've heard too much of it. The current party as it exists, hell no. The new party that's coming up, the leaders of the new school, yes, they will do something about it.
Can I just echo Isiah said something that's so profound just now. It's easy for me to take out a $200,000 loan for education, but you won't give me a $200,000 loan to start my own business. That's powerful, right? That's thank you for articulating it in that way.
When I hear you say it on TV, brother, I'm like, I know Jamaal got it from me.
You know, because it captures everything. Like it just captures how we have a plantation-based capitalist system, right? You can participate in this capitalist system if you allow me to continuously oppress you and allow me to make 300 times what you make as a laborer, and allow me to create monopolies in large businesses and squash small businesses. That's the capitalist system we have. It's a plantation-based capitalist system. And to Isiah's point, I mean, Nancy Pelosi is, you know, she's probably more powerful than a vice president. She's the second most powerful politician in the country. And if she put her weight behind a reparations bill will be brought to a vote and probably pass. So that's what we're dealing with here. And when we talk about flipping the Senate, we're going to have Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi as the heads of their particular houses with a Democratic White House. You best believe that myself, the squad, and others are going to apply pressure to make sure a reparations bill passes, and the outside will apply the same pressure. Let's see how they respond, and if they don't respond, they will have to be held accountable for that in a very real way. So it can get done once we flip the House, flip the Senate, and flip the White House. But, to Isaiah's other point, we don't need any more studies, man. The data is available. Just look at outcomes. Look at wealth inequality. Look at education outcomes. Look at health outcomes. Look at life expectancy. Look at home ownership. Look at test scores. Look at infant mortality. Look at maternal morbidity. The outcomes are there. No studies. We have the data. Let's get it done.
Refreshing, man. Real refreshing. I think offline we were talking just before the show. Isaiah was talking about we did the Poor People's Convention. We both spoke on it. What are your thoughts about new parties, more parties? I mean, do you? I think you're in favor of it, Isaiah. I know I heard you speak passionately about the need to get out of just a two-party system. Any thoughts you'd like to expand on regarding a new movement to another party?
I mean, of course. Listen, I'm a registered Democrat because I'm damn sure not a Republican. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. If something's not working, and even if this People's Party doesn't blossom into something, maybe this will be the catalyst to push some of those people on the left to doing the right thing. If they see a national People's Party start to come up and they're like, wait, these people are actually serious, it might force them to do the right thing. And any party that is not for the people, and I'm not a part of it. If the People's Party is literally putting all their muscle and their might behind putting forth policies that will actually make a difference in people's lives. Think about it. The Democrats in Congress, when they passed the first stimulus bill, they gave a $1,200 one-time payment. If you live anywhere, D.C., New York, L.A., what is $1,200 going to do? Yet we gave Wall Street trillions and trillions of dollars to keep them afloat. Democrats went along with that. So think about that. Republicans went along with it. So if we're going to criticize the Republicans, we have to get our house in order on the left. So I'm for a People's Party. I'm for the Democratic Party. I'm for whatever party puts the needs of everyday working people first. It's not the Republican Party. There's some in the Democratic Party. I see them fighting, but they're surrounded. They're surrounded by those corporate. When Jamaal gets in there and Cori Bush and the rest of them, it's going to be a small nucleus of those people. But we need to expand that to beat back these outside influences, because I'm telling you, man, the money is powerful. I've seen some of the people say the best things in the world. And I look at their donations, I'm like, oh my, they're taking money from the same people they're railing against online or on TV. So until we get a core of people who have integrity, who will do what they say they're going to do, not because it's the right thing to do, but because they have those lived experiences. Jamaal, I know, is going to fight for a criminal justice bill. He knows what it's like to be messed with by the police for doing nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. He's an educator. He sees what it's like for kids who don't have the education. He's a black man in America, so he knows what it's like just to walk out of the door, like I said, and be looked at as, the threat. So until we get that core group of people in there, it's never going to change. But I'm for any party that's for the people.
Mr. Bowman, any thoughts about an additional party or more parties in our system, political system?
Listen, the bottom line is our job as elected officials is to meet the needs of the people in our constituents. Period. That's the bottom line. And if we're not doing that job, we need to be removed from office by any means necessary. We need to be voted out. So right now, we have the Working Families Party, we have the Conservative Party, we have the Independence Party, the People's Party. It's powerful because the name captures everything that we are all fighting for. So even though I'm a registered Democrat, I'm fighting for the people, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's just That's just what it is. That's what it's going to be. And I'm never going to take corporate PAC money and never going to take money from fossil fuels or military industrial complex or hedge funds or big real estate or big pharma. I'm not working with them or for them. I'm working for the people. So yes, is the short answer to your question. But the longer answer is the people currently in the Democratic Party, if they don't want a threat of a people's party, they better stop meeting the needs of the people, man. You know, that's the bottom line. And you know, if we do that, then cool, let's get to work. If we don't, then change has to happen. And let me even be more clear. Over the next 5 to 10 years, the next 5 or 10 years, in my opinion, is going to really make or break our country in some very serious ways. We're either going to be able to build the infrastructure that will take us into another 100 years, another 1,000 years, thriving as a nation, or we will become a fascist state where inequality will be rampant, and the level of poverty will be rampant, and God and environmental justice will be melting the planet. You know, I don't even want to see that reality. But if we don't get things straight in the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to be in some real dire circumstances.
I think they need to get it straight sooner than that, Jamaal, because I know I hear people shouting civil war is coming. Well, when those rents and those mortgages come due, there you're going to have a real altercation there between the haves and have-nots at some point. We had, 40 million people out of work? They estimate?
44.
That's crazy. So progressive movement, closing remarks. The progressive movement, you guys are part of it. You're major leaders in it. What do you think will be, I know Senator Nina Turner, she talks about this a lot, about what's the steps forward. She thinks that media, you guys need a base to people to carry your message. You know how important it is to get coverage. Isaiah, I know you know that definitely.
Yeah.
You're trying to get your, campaign with little, meager finances, trying to get the word out about what you're talking about. What are your thoughts on what's needed for the progressive movement and what the next steps should be?
I think I want to echo Senator Turner, his message. You know what I mean? Right now our message is loud, but it's disparate because it's in different parts of the country. It's not a collective message, so to speak. You know, folks in New York are protesting, folks in Philly, folks in DC, folks in Oregon, the message is loud. We see it all over the news, but it's disparate. So if it was coalesced, if it was concise, if it was to the point, then, you know what I mean, all it takes. Think about it like this. The right, they call us snowflakes, right? Because we're all weak. So if one snowflake hits the ground, what does it do? It melts. If enough of those snowflakes get together, they make a goddamn avalanche. And they can sweep away anything in their path. Anything. So that's what we need to do, is we need to coalesce and get together. Unfortunately, the DNC removed, or they did some shady stuff and removed the person who would have coalesced. I couldn't think of a better candidate to be representing the people right now than Bernie Sanders. But again, the DNC did what they did and they pushed him out of the way. But like Jamaal Bowman said, I'd rather have a Joe Biden and fight with him on the issues than another 4 years of Donald Trump. And honestly, I think if Joe Biden gets elected, Kamala Harris, he's going to step down after one term. It's going to be Kamala Harris, the first black woman president.
You might be right about that, brother.
I really truly think that.
You might be right. And we're gonna have to fight with her too, because she
ain't perfect. No, I can go in.
No. But that would be tremendous. But it's again, I'd rather fight with either one of them than Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump will burn this country to the ground. You know, the progressive movement, I believe it's growing exponentially. I think our races and all the races happening across the country are an example of that. What's happening with DSA and Brand New Congress and Justice Democrats and Working Families Party and others, and the coalitions that they're building, I think are incredibly powerful. I still think that we have to do a much better job of bringing in young people of color in particular, from particular areas, into the conversation. We got to do a much better job of doing that. I think that's the sweet spot. That's the area where if we get them, and this is part of the 100 million we were talking about before, if we get them to be a part of the democratic process, and when I say we, I mean the progressive movement, now we can make transformative change for centuries to come and really build a nation that works for everyone. We're not doing enough of that work yet, in my opinion. The 100 million, bringing them in. 100 million plan, we call it, whatever you want to call it.
I like that.
But if we do that, that's when we take it to another level. But we haven't even started that as a movement. People like Isiah, myself, Senator Turner have, but the movement hasn't, and the movement has to begin to do a lot more of that.
Well, I definitely appreciate you guys taking time out to sit down with a brother, man. This is it's historical. It's great. Just the imagery of both you brothers at the same time, the energy from your responses. I know it's going to definitely motivate a lot of folks. You might even get some new people inspired to run for office like you and emulate some of the strides that you guys have taken. Mr. James, to close it out, is there any place or any events going on, or I know it's still COVID-19, but anything happening that you want to alert people to? If you had the floor, brother.
Yes, thank you, Tim, for having me back on the show. If there's any breaking news on my end in the political world, I'll be sure to reach out to you. And I want to say thank you to Jamaal Bowman for being here as well. A lot of folks see Jamaal as the outside character, but knowing the person that he is, knowing what he was up against up there in upstate, and he didn't take none of that dirty money, and they spent a lot of money to try to defeat this brother.
That's right.
We had Hillary Clinton coming in. He literally had the machine. People talk about AOC and Crowley. That was a big deal. He literally had the former presidential candidate, Secretary of State, former First Lady, endorse his opponent and still pulled it off.
Yeah.
So, yes, I hope we do inspire more people to get out there and run. This is a nation of millions of people. How vain of it is us to say that only 3 or 4 people should run every time? I don't care if 500 people run. The more, the merrier. That's how we move this country forward. Democracy cannot exist in a vacuum. For me, I'm still doing my organizing stuff and housing stuff. I'm working with the Black Veterans Project, which is trying to bring forth the Black veteran story in this nation of how we haven't been treated right and all the disparities that have been going on to that. And besides that, I'm just, living life and trying to stay healthy, trying to keep my family safe and all that stuff. But I'm still out there on social media. I'm still out there. I do go out. I haven't got a haircut, Jamaal, but I do go out all the time. I don't feel comfortable sitting in a barber chair with some dude breathing on me, but I go out almost every day. So, yeah, folks, if you see me out there, just say, what's up? Throw me up one. I'll throw you up one. But the fight doesn't stop. It never stops. At 8 o'clock at night, there's still rich people carving up neighborhoods, deciding, which jobs to lay off. So they don't take a break, so we can't take a break. So again, thank you for having me. And for all those folks, just look up Isiah James on social media. You'll find me.
That's real. That's real talk. What about you, Congressman-Elect Mr. Bowman? Any thoughts and to close it out?
Yeah. So thank you, brother, for having me. Isiah, great to see you. Even though you look weird.
I'm looking rough, bro.
I'm like, who is this guy over there? But thanks for having me, brother Tim. I just want to mention. So we have until September 30th to complete our census. So please, I know Black folk don't always want to complete the census. I get it. We think the Illuminati's watching us. I get it. But please complete the census. It brings in tens of millions of dollars in resources to your district. So please, wherever you are, please make sure you get that done. And and I want to make one last point. So Isiah and I ran for Congress. You don't have to run for Congress. You could run for State House. You could run for county positions. You could run for city positions. You can run for school board. And even if you don't want to run for office, you could help someone else who is running for office. And even if you don't want to help anyone running for office, attend your school board meetings, attend city council hearings, get involved. Democracy is a contact sport. And we need everyone involved every day, especially those who have been most disenfranchised. So please, lean in, get involved. We need you to really push this country forward.
Once again, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you so much. Much respect to you. And that'll do it for this edition of the Tim Black Show. Good night.
Peace and love, fellas.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, man.
No problem. Thank you. Congratulations again, Jamaal, bro.